Hey everyone, today's video is based on this, actually this is like my first proper SFX, I guess. It's not water cooled, I'll probably do one of those later on. But this is a simple NR200 Coolermaster that I've mashed together. Guys did see me post a photo earlier where I put a 4090 into this case. And well, I did do that, and I have a Devil in here that is this is pretty much the same size. It's a 1700 XTX Devil. I also wanted to just, before I get into this case and the thermals, because this looks like a hot box, right? So I wanted to address one thing before I get into that. But let me show you guys how it can breathe. This is something that you probably can't see when I post the photo. But you see there's an air filter, right? Once I remove the air filter, there are the fans for the GPU. And I can even take this off, and you can see the GPU fans are right there. So this is almost like just, having fans mounted on your radiator. Okay, so I had pretty high hopes when I was putting this together. For you guys that are curious, how did I get this card in here? How did I get the 4090 in there? Well, that's simple. I took the case apart and I put the GPU in, then I put the case back together. That's how I got it in there. But let me just break open the top so you guys can see in here. Okay, so if I can get this darn thing off. Okay, all right. So there's one fan connected here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a 120mm fan. I don't have space to put the other one on that comes with this case, simply because the power supply needs to be in the regular SFX slot, and I have in the FXL slot, simply because the GPU is too tall. Yeah, so while it's doable, it'll crush the GPU, pushing it down, and I can't. But I figured there's no point having a fan here. It's not going to really improve anything. I mean, it's being blocked, so it doesn't really matter. You can see I have an Asrock board in there. This is the Asrock B650E ITX. There's a 7900X. I was going to put a 7950X, but then I figured I really didn't need to, and the additional heat isn't going to help me. So so we'll get into the performance of this in a bit. But before I do that, I want to address an issue. Now, if you notice in the photo that I posted online, I was originally using this ROG ITX X670E. Now, this is a great board, comes with its Hive thing, which is super cool. But the problem that Asus has not fixed, I know this is off topic, but I figure it's helpful for, people who want to know. This is the Hive thing, by the way. They've included this since with the Z790s as well. Instead of having onboard audio, some of your USB slots and your onboard audio is handled by this thing. Okay, which is connected to the motherboard. So that's all irrelevant. What I'm trying to talk about here is this stupid problem that they refuse to address. Now, I don't know how well you can see it on camera. Let me zoom it in here some more. Sorry for the camera shake. Okay, but they've had this issue for some time now. This space right here, this little gap, that's not enough for any GPU that's not an Asus GPU, and not even some of the Asus GPUs, or like a reference. So you see this PNY? The height here of this back plate is narrow enough that I could get it on barely. Okay, that's why in the photo I had this. I originally wanted to do the Devil with this board, all AMD, and that's kind of why I wanted to use this to begin with, this board, because I'm a Asus fanboy. But this is no dice because the backplate is too tall, right? This kind of crap, it's really annoying. I mean, I understand that a lot of folks use ITX boards or risers, but also a lot of folks don't, right? So this is not a new phenomenon, right? They've had this issue on last generation. Okay. So on the last generation Impact, with the same crap over here, and you can see there's some scuffing here because it actually scratched the shit out of one of my cards. But yeah, the X570i had the same issue, and it's just like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand making it for your cards only But when it even gets in the way of your own cards, it's just kind of stupid. Other than that, this is a gorgeous board, by the way. You know, I love the dual stack NVMe instead of having it on the back. You know, I like all that. And oh yeah, also throw this in here. You'll notice that they've added these little fan covers for the fan, and they have ROG eyes on them. It's totally amazing detail. Other than that, yeah. So if you use this board, you're gonna have to use a riser, or you're gonna have to use a reference card, something with a flat back plate that's not elevated, and yeah, just small cut in. So the system is up and running. You can see I have all the stats on the right hand side of the screen. Let me zoom in a little more so they're visible. Okay, so let's do a base temperature check. That is 22.5 where I'm pointing, which is at the case. And base volume check. It's about 43 dB in this room right now. Okay, so I'm going to run Cinebench and check my temps. Obviously, like I was saying before in my previous videos, you're never going to tax your GPU like this. I mean, your CPU like this in normal gaming. This is a 12-core 7900X. You know, no game is really going to do that currently, right? So, like I was showing in the video earlier, there is an exhaust fan on the top. But I noticed even when I'm like loading this thing for long term, the GPU doesn't really seem to generate enough heat that's not pulled away from the AIO. So if I point at the AIO right now, you'll see that it is 32.3 at the AIO, right? And if I point it to the top, it's 23.6 where that exhaust fan is. So I think most of the heat is just coming out from the AIO itself, and well, obviously for the CPU, but even when I load the GPU, and the top is actually just probably exhausting whatever motherboard heat's coming off. And it's still actually very quiet. If I point my thing at it, hold on. It's about 47 dB. So not much from when it wasn't running. So it seems to kind of stay at this, right? You can see that if I come to my core boost, I am still boosting, what is that? 5 gigahertz across all cores. That's not too bad for Cinebench workload, right? And you can see my, obviously it's gonna hit the 95C because that's just Ryzen design. But you'll see my GPU temp is sitting at 45. GPU 2 is the onboard, okay? I don't have two discretes in there. So this pretty much stabilizes. This obviously is going to be 95 the entire time. That's just the Ryzen design. But I want to start 3D Mark now. And we'll just do a run. There's one run in there that taxes the CPU. And then the rest of it is GPU. So I ran it like half an hour straight. So I kind of know what it was going to be. But I just want to show you guys one run. This is pretty much what will happen in gaming, right? So after this, what I'll do is I'll run Ada, where I stress the CPU and GPU 100%. And we'll just check what the temps are after, like, I don't know, I think 15 minutes is fair, right? So just to see how hot this can get. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I really thought this was going to be kind of bad. But I mean, with all the ventilation on it, I felt confident, but not that confident. But when I had posted online the photos of just the 4090 stuff in there, everyone was like, hotbox. Well, if you look at the board power right here, I'm drawing 430 watts, right? Now, the PNY 4090 that I did stuff in here has a board power limit of, I think, 480 watts. It might be 450 even. I don't remember. But if you stuff the 4080 in here, you would never, or 4080 reference is like 350. So, you know, more power to you, right? So this is technically the same as pulling as a 4090 in terms of, you know, power draw. So if I could do a Devil in here, I could do a 4090 in here. Now, the only reason I didn't do the 4090 was because obviously I couldn't get the door closed. And I also need better cable. I need custom cables in this. Even the cables I have in here are the stock ones and are ugly and they take up way too much room. But you can see my, you know, this thing is, I can't hear this dumb thing. I mean, I hear it, but I don't hear my GPU. It's on a stock fan curve. If I shut up, well, that one is loading, but okay. I'm at 46.4 dB pointed at it. I mean, when I talk, it's 65, but you know. You can see I'm boosting the 2613, right? 63, junction 87. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And my CPU temp, is it showing there? Yeah, 56C. So, and honestly, this thing is super quiet, guys, for what it is. If I set a more aggressive fan curve on that devil, I'm sure, you know what? I'm just curious now. Let's see. So 34.2 by the AIO. Let's see, near the GPU at the bottom, 32. If I point to the top exhaust fan, it's still 27.7. Oh, wait, no, one spot is 30. So it's about 27 or 30, depending on the spot. So it is pulling out a little bit of warm air now. So that ADA stress test is going to be kind of interesting. I think with 15 minutes or so, I'm probably going to get a good baseline. But yeah, so I guess I've been ranting the entire time this thing's been running, so I'll rant some more. The Asrock board, the Beast, what the hell is this thing again? Oh, let me get the box. Well, that's loading anyway. Asrock B650E ITX that this thing is. Okay, so this board right here, oh, sorry guys, that stupid thing in the corner. This is the CPU portion, by the way, so this stresses the CPU. As you can see, my CPU temperature has gone up to 79.7. All right, so this board that I was talking about, this is a good, decent board. Price point's $290. Only annoying thing is, main complaint I have is the CMOS reset is still a jumper, where you pretty much have to short 2 pins to get the CMOS to clear. At near $300, the CMOS should be a button on the back. And they put it in the most insane part of the board, by the bottom, by where the PCIe snaps in for the GPU, that clip. How the hell are you supposed to reach it once you have it inside the system? All right, and even in a normal situation, you can't reach it because the GPU is blocking. I gotta take out the GPU every time to reset the BIOS. That is the insane shit sometimes that these manufacturers, they make a board, they don't put a system together. Anybody that builds a system with this board right away will tell you, you gotta move that CMOS button. And there we go. There's my score. I've done better. So that's interesting. I've scored better than this previously using this. But yeah, so right now I'm going to do is I'm going to just straight away load up ADA and see where I'm going to get. But I did run a cinebench multi-full earlier. I noticed that, you know, I can't sustain as high of a boost as I would if I was using this chip in a full loop, but it's still, you know, within margin of error. So let's just stability test. We'll have all these things up. So we won't stress FPU because that's kind of pointless for gaming. So 100% CPU, we don't need to stress the memory. We won't stress cache, we'll stress the GPU. Okay, yeah, sure, sounds good. Okay, so this and this, it's just like maximum gaming, right? So let's see how we go. I'll leave this running. Let me reset hardware. Let me just reset this so I can come back and look at min-max values. All right, so I'm gonna leave that running. See, board power draws 380. That's, I guess, most games, right? Most games are not gonna draw like under 300, like mid 300s. So I think this is fair, right? 100% on both. And I'll leave that running, and it's obviously lagging because it's 100%. I'll leave it running. I'll come back after like, I don't know, 20 minutes, and we'll see what our min-max is. Come in here for a second. It's only been 4 minutes, but I noticed while my GPU die temperature is decent, my junction temperature is over 100. I didn't play with this devil enough to tell you. Look at, I think I've hit 80s in the junction temperature in a larger case. But the thing is, you'll notice that the GPU fan is only at 1400 RPM, and I haven't heard the GPU fan like really spin up. So I think I may have to set a more aggressive fan curve, like on purpose, to make this work out better. But if I point it, I'm at like 48, so it's still super quiet. So I definitely have more room to increase the fan speed on the AIO, and it's set to balanced. It's running on a 280 Corsair H15i. I don't know what the fuck they're called. They got these fucked up names. All right, guys. I decided to stop it and then adjust the fan curve. The fans on this on the GPU by default are set to never go above 50%. I think that's not really realistic when you have a small case like this. So I'm gonna bump this up to starting at, I want to say, what is that, 70? So 70 will go up to 50, like what is that, 60, and then at, I don't know, at 100, like, I don't know, 80 will ramp up to 100. I think that's fair, right? At 80 something with 100 pan, I think a lot of GPUs do that. So I'm applying the changes. I'm going to start the ADA again, but you can see that I just want to come in here and say that I never, during that run earlier, my max CPU temperature was 81, and you guys saw that I hit 100 on the hotspot on the GPU, but I didn't hit, GPUs at 60 something. So I feel like I set a more like normal fan curve. So let's just start this again and see, come back in 20 minutes, and I'll see if I still hit the hotspot. Let me reset hardware info. Ooh, I can hear the fans. That GPU came up quick this time. Wow. Okay, so since I can hear the GPU now, unlike before, it's about 58, 59 when I point to it. Yeah, that GPU is kind of spinning kind of loud. You can see that it's almost double the rotation that it was before in terms of speed. So that kept the junction spin. This kind of makes me feel that junction hotspot's a little hotter than I would like compared to the core temp. I probably didn't notice that before. I know there's that whole thing recently about the the reference models. I don't have that problem on my reference XTX, but All right, so we'll leave it running for 20 minutes. Well, I probably should lower the GPU fan speed a little bit, but I guess if you're gaming, you're wearing a headset, right? So let's see how that goes. It's been 24 minutes according to the ADA. So I'm gonna stop this now. Let's take a look at our min maxes. Okay, here powering down. Let me see. Should have done this a little earlier. Shows about 41C coming off from the AIO. Let's look at the top. 32C. So about the same for the top from 20 minutes as 4 minutes, but definitely much more heat coming out of here. Let's see. My average core temps was on the CPU die 78. I maxed out at 84. And let's come down to GPU. My GPU temp on average was 55.1. My VRAM hit 72 max. 57 max on the GPU temp. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's kind of hard to see. It's so small. But my GPU, is there a hotspot on hardware info? Let's see. Yeah, so my hotspot topped out at 93 Celsius with an average of 85.8. Okay, so I'm gonna have to test this card a little bit more. Frankly, I don't remember what the average difference was before. Yeah, so I never thermal throttled, according to according to hardware info. But yeah, so as you can see, I think that worked out pretty good. My average boost clock was 5.1, yeah, about 5.2 across all cores, right? So not too bad. This means this is definitely viable. I think you probably lose some CPU performance due to the fact that you're pulling out hot air from the GPU out on the AIO as well as the CPU. But this is if you're doing a task that never really taxes either. Even if you're doing video rendering, I don't think it taxes the GPU that much. At least from what I noticed. I don't really render with Radeon GPUs, but I know it doesn't utilize the GPU fully like Premiere or anything like that. even for like NVIDIA cards. I think it normally tops out like 40% usage even on like Resolve. So yeah, definitely doable. I mean, once the cable mod adapters come out, I will redo this with the 4090. I think that'd be pretty hot. I would love to have, you know what? You know what? Next step, let's put a 7950X inside instead. So next redo when the things come out, 7950X in there, 4090 in there. You know what? I might do it in that Jonesville i100. But yeah, something like that. I'm looking for something a little bit tinier to sit on my desk instead of a big tower in my main office room. It's just, and then put my tower somewhere else in the other computer room. But anyway, thanks for watching. This definitely worked out better than I expected. So stay safe, take care, have fun.